These Jordanians outside the US Embassy in Amman are celebrating a UN resolution that condemns Washington for recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. They hope the vote will pressure the United States and other countries towards a peaceful settlement of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
I think that the countries are heading towards rethinking the Palestinian issue again and the real stance over Jerusalem.
On the eve of the vote, US President Donald Trump threatened to pull US aid to countries who support the resolution. And this was reiterated by the US ambassador to the UN after the vote.
The United States will remember this day in which it was singled out for attack in the General Assembly for the very act of exercising our right as a sovereign nation. We will remember it when we are called upon to once again make the world's largest contribution to the United Nations. And we will remember it when so many countries come calling on us, as they so often do, to pay even more and to use our influence for their benefit.
The United States disburses the most foreign aid in the world. In 2016, it gave $45 billion to 217 countries. The biggest recipients of US aid besides Israel received about $12 billion last year. Yet they've all voted against Washington's stance. Most of this money, which is about the size of NASA's annual budget, is military aid. Just over $2.5 billion support USAID programs, which are usually focused on improving the image of the United States in different communities. If Trump's threat turns to action, keeping the peace in some of the world's most restive areas could become even harder. And cutting off funds for development could erode US soft power, just as China, Russia, and other emerging powers expand their influence around the world. Mobin Nasir, TRT World.
Joining us now for more on this is our editor-at-large, Craig Peters. Welcome, Craig. This is a potentially very risky move for a lot of countries, especially ones like Egypt, and it brought that resolution, that motion to the UN Security Council in the first place. Why are they taking such a risk?
Well, first of all, it was not a resolution. It was a non-binding resolution. This was essentially a thumb your nose at the United States, which Nikki Haley and Donald Trump took very seriously. In fact, they took it too seriously. It was more posturing on the part of the developing world against the big, bad, mean United States. So what Trump did, his reaction, is going to do him and the United States no good. And who it's doing a lot of good, as Mobin reflected upon, is China, because between 2000 and 2014, the U.S., according to most of the studies, spent about $394 billion in U.S. aid abroad. The Chinese spent $396 billion, $2 billion more, and that money is rising. And that's why soft power is important. The United States is losing the soft power battle.
I grant you that, Craig. Let's stay on the US's motivations for this for a second, because am I wrong in thinking that perhaps the motivation for Donald Trump in doing this was actually domestic politics and domestic posturing rather than how he's seen on the international stage?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, America loves to bash the United Nations, and often for very good reason. And Trump is just, continuing that tub thumping. There's a duplicity here at work that if you listen to John Brennan, if you listen to Nikki Haley, Ambassador Haley said, exercising our right as a sovereign nation. That's why we did this. She kept using sovereign nation, sovereign nation. Right. Well, whenever another country, any other country in the world exercises its right as a sovereign nation and the United States doesn't like it, what do? They try to haul them into court.
Absolutely. Let's get back to the issue of aid. Just how effective a tool is US foreign aid in terms of implementing its foreign policy agenda?
Oh, it's huge. It is the fuel of soft power. this is also goes hand in hand with the cutbacks at the State Department, who are, in most instances, the appliers of the aid, the foreign aid to countries. We lose our legitimacy. Look, the business of America is business, money. People go to America, look to America for money. And foreign aid, if applied correctly and judiciously, really shows the best of the United States. Is foreign aid applied correctly and judiciously from any country shows the best of that country. And Donald Trump has thrown all of this out of the Oval Office window and left China in the driver's seat. And, of course, his 35% of his voters, they're very happy about this. You know, it's the UN, throw them out of New York. It might work for a couple of months, might work to the 2018 midterm elections, but this is not good long term, not good for anybody.
Look, Craig, you talk about the judicious use of foreign aid, but in many cases, including places like Afghanistan, the bulk of that aid actually goes to the military, into military spending, not economic development, right?
Correct. And that's one of the problems with the application of foreign aid in certain countries. And there's really, and by the way, those decisions come down from the top. It was done during the Obama administration, the Bush administration, and the Clinton administration, because foreign aid spent on military gear is also good for America, because in most cases, that military equipment is made in the United States by American workers who have jobs in factories. That's how it works.
The good old military-industrial complex at work. But let's look at it from the point of view of the recipient countries. Of course, it varies from country to country. But how important can U.S. aid in particular be for a least developed country?
Well, as they teach at the State Department, it's person to person. If you're living in a village in Africa and you're receiving U.S. aid that allows you to buy seed crop to grow food, it's exceptionally important. It is vitally important. If you have as part of that aid package U.S. specialists on the ground who are concerned about this, doing good humanitarian work, it is hugely important to the reputation of the country. Again, regardless of whether it's the United States, Turkey, or anywhere else. But, you know, China's application of foreign aid is quite different. They look upon investment capital as well as foreign aid. So it's a different model. It's just a different model, and that model, at least in the United States anymore, no longer exists.
Very quickly, Craig, do you think that it may actually be a good thing in some ways for some countries to be taken off of this crutch of U.S. aid for their long-term development, for them to stand on their own 2 feet?
Oh, no. Oh, no. The problem with U.S. aid is that the mechanism of delivery needed to be fixed at the source in the United States. How the aid got there. The aid is vital. The way in which the aid arrived, who was handing out the aid, and what it was used for needed to be changed. That's what Trump should have done. But he's not doing that. He's pulling aid based on a non-binding resolution.
Craig Copetas in Paris, thank you very much indeed.